Why is it that when the people that we love leave, we still feel attached to them? That's the question I have for today. That's the question I have for you. And that's one that I want you to think about while you're listening to this podcast. Because for some reason, we can't let go. For some reason, no matter how much harm they've done, no matter how much damage they've caused, no matter break they have done to our heart, we have a hard time letting go. And I like to think that's because we never got closure. Folks, I want to welcome you to the Happy Times podcast. My name is Joey Kidney, your host, and this is a podcast where we sit and we chat just like old friends do. Just catching up and talking about life in a way that you can feel comfortable. I want you to feel like this is a conversation, even though that you don't have a mic next to your face. You're allowed to speak as well, whether it's through DMs or comments or anything. This is a safe space, and I hope you feel that way. Now, this podcast is for anyone who is searching for an answer after going through a breakup and needs to add things up in their head. Because sometimes it's not always so easy to just let go. And sometimes breakups aren't like a 2+2 situation. Sometimes they're a little bit more difficult, especially when you just wake up one day and somebody's like, yeah, no, I don't love you anymore. It's a hard thing to deal with. And I get that. And I'll be honest with you, I've been on both sides of that. I've woken up and been like, I just had a realization that this is not my life. This is not the path that I want to be on. And the person that I thought that was, my all was somebody that I wasn't supposed to be on a path with. And these realizations, they come and go, and sometimes they're not the best for both parties. But I think we've all had them before. And I think there's a lot of guilt towards them as well. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with realizing that they're not for you anymore and you're not for them anymore. But I think the wrong is when it comes to leading someone on and not telling them. And that's where I find there's a lot of difficulty in closure. And a lot of people think that somebody owes you closure. Nobody owes you anything. This is a nasty world. It's a very hard, tough love world, but the closure is in the way that people act. Especially with the way that things are nowadays, I think we're a little bit too cookie cutter in the nicest way possible. That's the nicest way I could possibly think of it. I think we're too fragile nowadays that we need to be let down easy, that we're so scared to say the wrong thing that we end up not saying anything. We're so scared to get canceled. Like every relationship nowadays is on social media, whether you're famous, an influencer or not, you're on there because everyone has it. You're going through a breakup. People post a crying photo on Instagram nowadays. So no matter what, it's on there, and it's something that people have to deal with. And the hardest part is that it's also not just you and that person going through it. Now it's you and the internet going through it. And I've had my fair share of breakups. I've had my fair share of bad breakups as well. And I've also had my fair share of love. But to be honest with you, every single one of those things has been difficult at one moment or another. So I want you to know that you're not alone in any aspect of the word. Whether you are the one that didn't give closure or you are the one that's waiting for closure, this is for you. And I don't want you to feel judged at all, because I think we've all been there. Even if we feel like we haven't, even if we feel like, oh, we're a lot better than. I know that you may have led somebody on, or I know that you may been led on, but this is a safe spot for you. And I hope you feel that way. And I hope you feel that way, especially because we're doing 2 podcasts in a row, which is very exciting. I will be starting to film the podcasts. This is like a quick update before we get going. I will want to film the podcast very shortly. And that'll be going on my YouTube channel, which is the Happy Times podcast with Joey Kidney, or the Happy Times with Joey Kidney. And then also we'll be doing back to getting like clips and stuff for Instagram. So I appreciate everyone who shares those and follows the Instagram page. And I really appreciate all your support. And I hope these conversations help you feel at ease with your own mind. Because sometimes, we have these thoughts that are just overpowering, and it's not that we need an answer, but it just means that we need somebody else to feel it as well. Not for us to put a burden on them, but just know that somebody else out there feels a fraction of what we feel, and that what makes us feel less alone. And I hope I can do that. So if you have recently gone through a breakup, your heart is broken, you've done everything that you possibly can. You've either gone through, your revenge bot or whatever, going to the gym, or you've binged your Netflix shows or anything like that. This is for you. Oftentimes, we are left feeling like we are the problem after a breakup, or that we did something wrong, or that we weren't the person that they needed us to be. And to be honest with you, those are all valid reasons. Those are all valid things to feel sad about. But if it doesn't sit right with you, then that's probably not your reason. Like I said before about, how everything is on social media nowadays. It's hard to know how you feel because everyone is also sharing their feelings, and sometimes we get caught up in how we should feel. Sometimes, when we go through a breakup, we feel that we need to be crying. We feel that we need to just absolutely break down. We need to eat a pint of ice cream. We need to watch Netflix. We need to get a revenge bod. We need. You don't need to do anything. If you're okay, you're allowed to just be okay about it too. I've gone through breakups and I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm good. I've also gone through breakups that confused the hell out of me, and I didn't understand any of it, and I took years to get over it. That's also okay. This person has left such a huge mark on your life to the point that you can't do anything without thinking of them. If that's something that you're dealing with, then there's something that you need to assess there, that you need to accept. Whether it is a form of hatred for them, love for them, or just a wandering thought that doesn't leave your mind. It's a tough thing to go through, especially a tough thing to go through alone. When someone who we thought would be in our lives, the person that was in our lives for the rest of our lives, well, our entire world just flipped upside down. And now, a word from our sponsor. This Happy Times episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. I am sure you can relate, but there are a lot of times when I don't feel the greatest. And there's a common question of, describe a time when you feel like your best self. And to be honest, sometimes it's hard to even picture that version of me. My thoughts can be so blocked by my anxieties about the future that I can't even focus on the now, and that is when I found BetterHelp. Talking to a therapist helped me open up my mind, slow down my thoughts, and that helped so I can focus how I truly feel in the moment, providing me with coping mechanisms that allows me to keep living my life, and I'm strong enough to move forward. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option, and it really helped me. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with the therapist, and if things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be any simpler. So if you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/happytimes. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/happytimes. And now, back to the podcast. We had trust broken, we had plans canceled, and we had a person change entirely. Sometimes people wake up and they have their moments of realization. And it's hard to not have those moments because we are so influenced by so many things. Every single time you scroll on social media, it's somebody complaining about, their problems, how they fix them, or motivation, or whatever. Or we're watching movies and we get motivated. Have you ever watched a sport movie and then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I want to be a tennis player. I can do this. Or like, I want to be a wrestler. I want to be a pro boxer. We all get motivated by different things, and we all get influenced by different things, and we're constantly influenced. No matter what time we open up our phone, there's something there. And so people change a lot quicker than what we care to believe, right? So why does not getting closure hurt so much? Why is it that when we go through these breakups, that are just wake up and next thing you know, you're single, right? And it just doesn't make sense to you. It doesn't add up in your head. Why does not getting closure hurt so much? Well, I think there's three things. One, you feel empty. Two, you think that you are the problem. And three, you can't stop thinking about them. But this is obviously stuff that you already know. You're thinking, oh, Joey, I already know this, and that's okay. Some people don't, all right? And some people just need, to be reaffirmed. Feel free to share how you feel in DMs or anywhere. But I know you're here for one question only, and that is, how do I get closure after the breakup? We're all here for that question and that answer. But I think sometimes the closure is the way they left. They told you everything so you don't need any specific words. Because what were we taught as kids? Actions speak louder than words in any situation possible. We constantly feel that we need somebody to say, I am breaking up with you because. I'm sorry, that has never happened. Unless there's a cheating situation, unless there's somebody moving away, unless it's a big drastic thing, we're never really gonna know. You're never fully gonna know. Because the only person that knows you is you, no matter how much you try to explain it. I've been talking about emotions and my feelings and sharing how I feel on the internet and in my 2 books. And I can tell you this, I haven't said it all. Because there's no way to possibly say it all. It's a very difficult thing to translate how you feel into words. And I am actually working on a workshop to be able to do that the best that I can, so that it can inspire you to, maybe if you really enjoy writing, or you want to be a poet or anything like that, or maybe you just want to journal, or maybe you just want to understand, okay, I'm feeling this way, why? How do I get my mind to understand the way I'm feeling? Or if I have to explain to a therapist, how can I get there? I'm working on a workshop that's going to help you do all of that. So stay tuned for that. But going back to closure, we think that we need these specific words, but we're never going to get them. No matter what somebody says, they're breaking up with you at the end of the day. There's nothing that they're going to say that's going to make it feel okay. Right? So actions speak louder than words. The way they left you speaks louder than anything that they can say. So 3 things. 1, disinterest is closure. If they don't show the interest in the love anymore, they have already started moving. 2, the lack of love is closure. If they're not showing that love anymore, it's ending. Or maybe it's something that you have to check in on. These are all subjective things. These are all things that are different for each and every single one of us. And going on to 3, the way that they mistreated you is closure. The way that they mistreated you is closure. I say that twice because we get so caught up in our little love goggles that the person that we love can do no wrong. This is just the way that they are. This is the way that they were raised. This is the way that they love, right? This is the way, they have trauma. They hurt people. But the thing is, sometimes you don't deserve to be hurt. Not in that way. I think oftentimes we search for closure, even if we stumble upon something that works. We still leave it empty. Right? If we got broken up with, we're like, okay, they just weren't feeling in love anymore. That makes sense. They weren't that loyal. I can let them go. And I didn't really see my life with them anymore. But it just it felt comfortable. But that's not enough, right? They didn't say why. Why did they leave? Well, it's because a part of us always wants to be searching for closure because it's the last piece of the person that we have. No matter how much you lose your love for somebody, there's always going to be a piece of them in your mind and left in your heart. Unless you've dated a lot of people and it all becomes a blur, hey, that's a different situation. Well, we're always going to be searching for closure because it was the last piece of that person that we have. And sometimes we don't want to move on. Maybe we're constantly searching for closure because we want to be. Right? And this is obviously, I'm just talking here. This could be not you, or it could be you. You never know. Some days when the thoughts replay in your mind, the way they pushed you seems playful. The way that they argued with you seems like a conversation. The way that they didn't love you seems like they're playing hard to get. Right? All of these things, the disinterest, the lack of love, the way that they mistreated you, all of these things can be confused for love, especially, when we have the influence online and in movies. And, honestly, when we watch, the corn videos online, like guys, they're influenced a little bit different, and maybe the ladies watch them too, but, love's not the same anymore, and we're not portraying love as the same anymore. It's not like these fairy tales that we used to watch. Sometimes we don't want to let people go. Why would we? We love them. Now, if they didn't do anything necessarily wrong to you or really, really drastic, and it just kind of faded away, it's a hard thing to let go. Why would we? We love them. But here's the thing, they didn't love you. They lost that love. Otherwise, they would be here. They would be holding your hand through any barrier you need to cross, whether it be stressed at work, or not being able to conceive, or fighting with a family, or battling a demon in your own head. Them not being here and shutting the door behind them when they left is all the closure that you needed to understand that they aren't coming back. And you're going to be more okay without them. You will learn to be strong on your own, to love new things, and to be a person that they never let you become. Don't let someone disappear and reappear in your life, because it will go faster than you think. And you will be left searching closure for your entire life. There's going to be people that break up with you and then come back because you were comfortable for them. And you're going to be like, yeah, I'll allow it. That was comfortable for me. This was a spot that I really want to get back to being at. But we can't ignore all of the facts at play. The disinterest, the lack of love, the way they mistreated you, the way that you feel left empty, the way that you think that you were the problem that they left, the way that you can't stop thinking about them because you think you did wrong. All of these things are reasons why you need to find the love within yourself. Maybe you want to leave that door open. That's up to you. But if you shut it, don't feel guilty. Because it's time to find that love within yourself, and it's time to move forward with that love. The more you search for this closure that is nowhere to be found, that no matter how many words they say, they're not going to be good enough, that no matter how many actions they have, they're not going to be good enough, but those actions are the reason. The more you are opening a door to fool you that they love you, the more that you're going to hurt yourself. When in reality, there is no closure. That's the answer of it all. You came here for the one answer to the one question of, how do we get closure? After a breakup. There is none. Because they left. And that has to be good enough to move on. That has to be. Because there's nothing else. There's nothing that somebody can say to you that's going to be enough. Because you're hurt. Your heart is broken. It is not a, I'm sorry, that's going to repair it. And it has to be good enough to move on because you deserve it. And I'm proud of you for listening this far into a podcast on a topic that breaks you. Which just proves my point that you are strong enough to move on. You are. And I know there's going to be a time when you're going to come back to this podcast because you're going to think that you need closure again. Because when we go through relationships, even after ones that have ended really poorly, we kind of get lost in the new one. We kind of forget everything that we learned, and it takes a few to get them right. People always say that, your third relationship is the best. And that's just because you've been through the shit. You've been through the hurt, the pain, the struggle, and you finally found out not what you like, but how you like to be treated, how you deserve to be treated, and more importantly, not settling for any less. You are beautiful, you are strong, you are capable, but you do not need closure from a person that doesn't deserve to give it. They have taken enough from your life. Now it is yours to live. Thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. I truly hope it hit home. I hope it helped, and I hope it answered some questions. I'm super excited that I'm working on this workshop that's hopefully going to help anyone transfer those thoughts into words. And I'm also working on releasing my third book, which is a part 2 of What's the Rush, which was my first book about translating, my feelings into words. And then I'm also excited to be bringing the podcast to video, even if it's just me chatting in a room. It allows you to see, the emotions that I face while speaking. And I just really appreciate each and every single one of you for being here. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review. It helps a ton. And stay beautiful, and I'll talk to you again when you think you need closure.